Well, let's speak to Dr. Joanna Faure Walker. She's a senior lecturer at the Institute for Risk and Disaster Reductions at University College London. Joanna, good to have you with us. First of all, I know that Mexico is an earthquake-prone country, but how unusual is it to have two such strong earthquakes hit it in a matter of days?
It's not common to happen, but in Mexico is an area where we get, as you said, lots of earthquakes. There's been sort of 70 to 100, magnitude 5 and above, the last 100 years or so. So sort of because they happen at different times and randomly, sometimes connected, it can just happen and it seems like they're all happening at once.
But it's not a massive coincidence that it happened on the anniversary of the massive earthquake back in 1985.
That's certainly a coincidence. I mean, the earthquake that happened back then, September 1985, was horrendous. It killed about 10,000 people. It's a similar tectonic regime, so it's the same thing going on. We have the Cocos Plate coming in and subducting beneath the North American Plate in Mexico. And so earthquakes are going to continue to happen, and they will keep going. And so it's the same tectonics going on, but it's quite spooky that it happened on exactly the same day.
Very hard to predict, I'm guessing. We know that Mexico installed an early warning system after that earthquake in 1985. Does that give you much of a head start?
You're talking seconds, maybe a minute, depending exactly where the earthquake is, but it's just enough time. You might be able to get under your desk, you might be able to escape a building. Mexico City does actually have quite a sophisticated system compared to other countries in the world, and they have evacuation points where people meet and collect on the streets. So, I mean, they're really trying to do it as well as they can, but unfortunately with earthquakes, as you say, it's so little time. You just have to do what you can in that time you do have.
And we've had so many natural disasters recently: Hurricane Harvey, Hurricane Irma, Hurricane Maria, and now this earthquake. Is it possible for governments to try and reduce the impact of those disasters, for example, by strengthening infrastructure, improving building standards, and are they doing it?
They are. I mean, in Mexico, as you mentioned, after the 1985 earthquake, they realised just how susceptible Mexico City particularly is to earthquakes, because it's actually built on a load of sediments, lake beds, meaning that when shaking occurs, it's really amplified. So unfortunately, Mexico City itself, where you've got so many people living, is really prone to this. And they did introduce building codes in 1985. They then improved them in 1993 and again in 2004. So they are taking those steps, and any buildings built since then should conform with those codes. The problem is there are still buildings remaining from before, and the other problem you have is whether people are actually complying with them. It's one thing setting the codes, another is, are people really doing it? You mentioned retrofitting, so buildings which already exist, can you do things to improve them? And there are things one can do, but again, these are sort of, if a building's already there, you're limited how great it can be, and how effective this retrofitting can be. If you can do it, fantastic. The best thing is new buildings, to build them properly in the first place.
Absolutely. Hindsight's a wonderful thing. Joanna, thank you very much indeed for that. Dr. Joanna Faure Walker there.